Ladies and gentlemen, for the thousands in attendance and the millions around the world wishing they were live with us tonight, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Lee Silber.
Woohoo! Love that introduction.
Welcome to the show, Lee. Welcome to Become Your Own Superhero. You are a talented man, a award-winning author, and have released 26 books at last count. You're a very talented speaker and an entrepreneur. Have I missed anything?
Oh, don't stop. Keep going. I love this. This is great. No, that's fine. That's fine. This isn't about me. It's about trying to find some way of sharing some interesting advice for the listeners and viewers.
Well, I think you'd be interesting, and this is why we had you on the show, Lee. I came across your work inadvertently through some obscure reference via Steve Siebold, who's a professional keynote speaker who I've mentioned on other podcasts, who referenced one of your books. Do you know which book it was?
I think it was Self-Promotion for the Creative Person, I think. Is that right?
Yeah.
Do I win? I win.
Yeah.
What do I win? Tell me what I won.
But it's astonishing that you were referenced in such a prolific online course or a book that he released. And it was only the conversation that you and I had that revealed that to you, which I find fascinating. What's the book about?
So if you're a creative person, you could be an artist, you could be a musician, you could be a writer, you could be a lot of different things. But most times you're not a marketer. And so I thought, well, how can I make marketing? That's something that's kind of ugly. Ugh, I don't want to sell myself. That sounds terrible. So I figured let's look at it as another outlet for your creativity. Self-promotion doesn't have to be even about you. It's just about what you can do for others. So I just tried to take this tired topic and give it fresh life and make it work for people who are creative types and not by design salespeople. Unlike yourself.
It was shameless, and I'm proud to admit it.
I mean, you're a salesperson, but yes.
Yeah. I have changed my opinion on sales over the last decade or so, and I've realized it's become a very important part of society. But the thing that interests me at the moment is I've been burdened, and I use the word very loosely because I'm very blessed to write a book. And you've written 26 books, and there's a lot of people out there that haven't written a book or even thought about it, and it's such a daunting prospect to them. How did you get started?
I'm going to say I think a lot of people do think about writing a book. I think everyone has a book in them. I think everyone probably has one really good book in them. It could be their life story, or it could be something that they've been around or done or been a part of. So I'm not saying that. I think most people do have the dream of writing a book, but you're right. Why did so few go from I really want to write a book, but don't actually do it? And so I'll just put this in a quick story form. So I put on a kind of an event. I had a publisher, an editor, a literary agent, a couple of other authors, and it was this free symposium at a bookstore. So at the end, I'm packing up, ready to go, and this woman comes up to me. She says, "I want to write a book about my life." I'm like, okay, I hear this all the time. But she started telling me about her life. I thought, wow, you really do have something there. There's something, and she had a message she wanted to share. So we became friends, and she was 25 years older than me. So that was probably when she was 40 something. Anyway, we kept in touch, and I always, when I'd see her, how's your book coming? Oh, I'm too busy doing this, or I don't know where to start. So I would give her suggestions. Why don't you just jot down some ideas on index cards, and then you could kind of sort them out to see what you have. Maybe you'll have a bunch of that go together, and that's a chapter. Nah, I said, why don't you just speak it into a recorder? You go on a long walk, talk it through. Talk about your life, and then you'll have it captured, and someone could translate. Anyway, I gave her all these ideas. Finally, she called me and she says, "I'm dying. I have just a few months left to live." I went to see her, so she put her hands on top of my hands and she says, "I want you to write it." And I thought, that's a lot to ask, but of course. So we would meet every Wednesday, and she would just tell me her life. All it was not in chronological order. I had notes she lived for 4.5 to almost 5 months. And so we met every Wednesday. I took notes, and I got to hear all of her stories. And then she passed away. So then I had all these, just an enormous amount of notes with no rhyme or reason or order. And so I said, well, I'm just going to start small. I'm just going to write the last thing she told me. I said, who do you want to dedicate the book to? And she told me her son. So there's one page done. I started there. And I thought, well, let's see. Let's do it in chronological order. That made it seem, even though she didn't give it to me that way, I put it back in that order. And that helped kind of, anyway, what I'm getting at is I took this overwhelming big thing and kept breaking it down to where it was just something I could do in a day or a couple of hours. And I just kept doing that over and over again. Before I knew it, I was done. And the book is, I'm probably most proud of the book called Sunshine, because it's a period. There's a lot of times it takes place in different periods. And I researched, she said she owned a Carmen Ghia car. I'm like, do they really make those at that time? I did a lot of homework to make sure it was authentic. Anyway, I turned her story into a novel. That also helped, not having to make it exactly accurate. And in the end, the point is, she just couldn't get it done. She went and got help. She found someone else to help her. That's one way to do it. Breaking it down into small, bite-sized, easy to manage little pieces is another way. And the third is, you just got to imagine how great it'll feel when you're done. People asking you to sign your book. People lining up to hear you speak. I mean, there's such a great thing that comes from writing a book. So that's my advice. Sorry, it's a long answer, but there you go.
Oh, I think it's brilliant, Lee. And it's heartbreaking that that woman never had an opportunity to see her book in the final form, like, and isn't it a reminder to us all to, carpe diem, as they say, seize the day?
Since you asked, you opened the door. The last Wednesday I saw her, the next day I was doing a book signing not far from where she was staying. She was on oxygen. Her legs were swollen. She was at the last, you could tell she was towards the end of her life. And I was doing it at a bookstore that was on, and they had the book signings on the second floor. So her son carried her up the stairs in her wheelchair, and she sat there, and she didn't want to miss it. She came to support me on probably the last or second to last day of her life. And that's the kind of person she was. So you're right. I envisioned us sitting side by side, her signing her book and seeing, but the end of it is, there's a record of who she was, what she did, what she believed, passed on her message. And to me, I think that's what she really wanted, was a legacy and to make a difference. And we did that. I'm getting a little verklempt. So, but yeah, she was a special person.
That's really great. And like, since the book's come out, like how long ago was when the book was released?
Let's see. It actually won an award for Best Memoir in 2016. It's been a few years, but it's one of my most requested people. Hey, will you come and tell the story of Sunshine? Because she really had a life where she was abandoned by her parents. She was, not adopted, but she was in foster care. She made millions, lost millions. She was divorced, widowed. I mean, she just had this up and down life. But in the end, her thing was the power of now. Like you said, just be in the moment, carpe diem, be present, and live your life to the fullest, and have no regrets. And she said the only regret she had was not writing a book. And that's when she put her hands on mine and said, "You're going to help me with this, right?" I'm like, "Yes, I'm going to help you with this."
So there's lots of great reasons why you should, and going through the process now, like I'm about 4,500 words into what will be, I think about 40,000 words is about the average book. Does that sound about right?
That's about right, yeah.
And I'm really, really loving the whole process of it. And I've never done any courses. I've never studied writing, or I've been a ferocious learner for a long time, but and when I get a chance to like read sections of it back that I've written for feedback to Anna, my partner, right? Or Carolyn, my mentor lady. And then the response that I get initially is just like, it's really inspiring. So I'm a big fan, and I've got a very tight deadline to get this book completed by. And I think having that urgency is helping me a lot.
Yeah. No, I feel like if, some people say they write every day and they get up at 7 and they write from 7 to 10, which is, it works. A lot of famous writers say that. But when you're on a roll, like you sounds like you are, just go. Go. Let the train run. Because once the train stops, it takes a long time to get it going again. So I love that you're all in. You got the deadline pushing you. You enjoy the process of writing. Because really what stops people is everyone says, it's writer's block. It's not writer's block. It's fear. I'm afraid. Is this going to suck? Will anyone read it? Will it ever sell? Will I get a publisher? Will it get a bad review? So many things about then down the road. When what I'm hearing is you're in the process, you're enjoying the process. That's important. You can't focus on the future other than the good stuff. Well, someday I'll be signing this and people will love it. But I will say another thing that's good for writers is to read their work aloud. And it's nice that you also are getting feedback on it. That's a lot of writers don't know if it's any good until, well, a year later, or when you get the manuscript out with all the little red pen marks, like, what were you thinking? Why did you write this? This is terrible.
Did you read this aloud?
Yeah, right.
It's good.
And also, I was going to say, when I think about, people who are studied, literate, they are perfect writers, it's crap. I love someone who has an authentic voice. It hasn't been ruined by all these classes teaching, well, you can't start with the word and. Oh, yeah? Watch me. I love that you are, you read and you know what good writing looks like because you're a reader, but you maybe will break a couple rules that will make it even better than just the same thing everyone else does. So I'm giving you props. So
no, I appreciate it. Well, I'm coming from an angle, and I have been reading it out and recording myself and listening to it back because I want to practice when I record it for Audible, right? And as a speaker, I'm in the process of doing Roger Love's his vocal coaching, and Vin Yang, who's a guy I just released on a podcast the other day. He's a communication expert. I'm studying the art of mastering this stuff so that I can get my message across more effectively. And so when I write it in book form, I want to tell stories and do it in the same way that I would if I'm delivering a presentation, which sort of leads me to my next question with you, Lee. Like, of all the hats that you wear, what's your favorite one, if you have one?
Well, in the intro, you left out designer, which is something that I did. Well, I've done a lot actually, but it was something I went to college and I was studying economics and business because I thought that's what I should do. That's where the jobs are, and I hated it, and I wasn't very good at it. And I finally just gave in and said, I love art. I want to be an artist, but still practical. I want to be a graphic artist. Well, somebody that makes money at their art. So not that fine artists don't make money, but I want it. So long story short is, as I've been speaking for so long, since 1991, I think is when I gave my first paid speech, till today. In the old days, there were the graphics where you take your fingers and make animal things on the screen. There was no PowerPoint. But once PowerPoint became a big part of what speakers use, it was perfect for me because I get to do my design stuff. I do elaborate slideshows with, multimedia. And I love getting up in front of an audience and giving a speech. I don't get afraid. I get excited. Put me in. I want to go. Who wants to go first? I do. Let me go. I love being on a stage. I love the after when people come up, want to talk to you for the most part. That's good. Sometimes creepy, but that's okay. It's all, but the whole, what makes it great is you get to travel a little bit. I get to do some art and design, and then I get up and get a speech. But at the end of the day, what it's really about is getting a letter or, maybe not a letter, an email, or somebody even saying, your story about your dad or your message of what you had to say really affected me in a positive way. That is, I don't know what other professions you get that. I'm sure like a doctor or something of that nature, but it's just it's special. It means so much to know that you made a difference. That's what all that other stuff, the multimedia and all that, is just to make it so interesting and compelling that people pay attention, and you drive home an important point, and then it resonates with them. They do something with it, and you've had a positive impact on the world.
Well, I think what you're describing there is that contentment that in a conversation with this other communication expert, we were trying to describe how you describe contentment. And we kind of came to this conclusion that what we do, right, in terms of the speaking and the communicating, or and whether it be books or whatever, is that by improving someone's life, that you get that good feeling back. So it's almost a selfish thing, but it was a really interesting thing to think about. What is contentment?
Well, I've been doing this for so long, and I've had a lot of friends who are still trying to find themselves. And so a lot of times I'll have a see someone, what are you up to now? Doing what I always did, doing what I love to do. Can't tell you how much I enjoy what I do. And I will stay up all night if I have to make that slideshow just right. I'll fly across the country, across the world, if it's the right audience and I can make an impact. I wish it pays okay. It's not, there's probably other things, but to me, I will take a lesser paying fee if it's the right group and my message is the right message. So I'm in a good place, and I love what I do. And fortunately, some people love what I do. So that's all good.
Well, you've been doing it for long enough, so people must be enjoying what you're doing. Otherwise, you wouldn't be getting paid for it in the way.
That's good to know. Thanks for that pep talk. Yeah.
What's left for Lee Silber? Like you've got this illustrious career that's far from over. What do you want to achieve next in your life?
Well, you'll see as you go forward. There's been some highs. So like best-selling book, like people. I'm triple booked, and then it goes the other way. And so it's an up and down. It's not a straight line going up. There's a straight line going up. That's how you want your career to be. There's this jaggedy line. That's how it is. And the space in between, that's why we drink. So, it's a graph. But so yeah, it's the to get back to where it's the right message at the right time for the right people. And so one of the books I wrote was called The Wild Idea Club, and it was about how to get ideas from the bottom of an organization to the top. Safety in numbers, a big group of people get together to come up with an idea and how to promote it to the boss to get it implemented. That really resonated with people. So every once in a while, I'll have one of those really breakthrough ideas. So what's next? I'm not sure. I'm experimenting with a couple of things. That's the best way to do it, is to just put it out there and see what people think. The market or your audience or your manager, your agent, your booker will tell you, nah, it'll never work. Or I love it. So that's where I'm at, trying to always reinvent myself, because you're only as good as your next idea.
Well, I was going to ask you about these ideas and the ones that have been really successful. Did you know from the moment that it came into your brain that you were like, yeah, this is it? And then there was either a few haters or a few doubters or whatever. And then eventually it came out and you're like, I knew that the whole time.
If only. See, I'm an optimist. There's whatever. It's like, I don't know if your audience knows about Charlie Brown, but he was this cartoon character who this girl, Lucy, would always hold the football for him to kick it. And at the last second, she'd pull it back. But he always thought, not this time. And of course she did. I always believe I wouldn't go as far as to create something unless I had that. I don't even know what the word is, but it's like you feel it in your stomach. You're thinking about it all the time. You want to vomit almost. It's so, like butterflies in your stomach. It's a feeling. You get a feeling, okay, this is it. So that eliminates the things that just like, someone told me that during this time where we're huddled in our homes that I should do a recess for kids, hey, recess with Lee. I'm like, that's a lovely idea. Not feeling it. I woke up the next day, I'm like, nah. But other ideas, like, yes. So that's the beginning, is I have to believe that there's something there. And then, you just put it out there and you don't know. The answer is, I was surprised by a couple of things that hit. Like, did not see that coming. And other times I'm like, what the heck? This is genius. No. You just don't know. So you just keep doing it. Yeah. And I get excited, fresh. I mean, there's people that give the same speech over and over and over again. That's not me. I'm always trying to customize it, personalize it, change it up, add something more relevant that's happening in today's world, always fixing it up to make it better. And then also trying to, 26 books, they're not all about the same thing. They're all about different things. Something new that excites me that hopefully enough other people are interested in learning about or want to be entertained by. That's what I want to do. So to answer your question, I don't know what's next. Well, I kind of do, but maybe I should run it by your audience and say, what do you think of this, or this? But it's more internal. Like, I have to know this is going to work. Or I feel like this has got something. So there you go. I'll tell you kind of what one thing that I'm toying with is a book about products that have lasted a long time, years, but yet they haven't changed, or they've been minor change, like pizza. Pizza is still pizza. It's like a dough with sauce, but yet how it's made and delivered, it's been improved a little bit at a time, right? So I'm trying to talk about compound improvement. Little improvements stacked on top of each other make a big difference. That's what to answer your question, that's what I'm working on now, is taking all these products like ketchup. It looks just like it looked years ago. Why is it still popular? They found other uses for it. They made it in a bottle that it's upside down, so the first part of it isn't all watery. Little improvements over time make a big difference, and that's true in business for products and services, but it's true in our lives too. You make little improvements every day a little bit better, and in a week you're 7 times better, give or take.
I love that. And I actually did catch some of that on a podcast that you're on. Must have been relatively recently, I think, when you were launching your most recent book, the Jimmy and the Kid, or Billy and the Kid.
Yeah.
About baseball.
That's fun. That was a fun book to write. Yeah.
This is a fiction piece of work?
It's factual fiction. Some of it really happened, and then I just tweaked it, and I wanted to make people cry, wanted to make them feel something. So yeah, I took characters that sort of existed and I did horrible things to them. No, I'm just kidding. It's actually a really inspiring story about a girl who wants to play baseball with the boys, but she finds it a little challenging. But yet, in the end, I'm not gonna give it away, but let's just say she plays baseball. All right, I'll say it. That's a great story.
And so the process of you writing this kind of book, like, do you just start writing and just verbally or just type diarrhea and then it just naturally flows? Or do you need to be quite structured in the way you deliver this? Like, explain to me that process.
Well, so my wife works in human resources, right? And so she has to talk to people. I'm sorry, you're fired, or whatever, right? So sometimes she comes home and she uses that human resource voice on me. I'm like, whoa, you're using your HR voice. She can't help it, right? She can't help it. When it's right and I'm writing, it just is. The voices, it just all flows. I'm not fighting it. If it's struggle, something's wrong, in my opinion. That's just how I am. So once I get started, and that's the hardest part, just to get the thing going. Once it gets going, sometimes I'll know how it ends. Sometimes I'll have, if it's nonfiction, I'll have structured chapters. But for the most part, it's free flowing. It's just the same with speaking. I'll get done. What did I just say? You get an out of body experience where it's just like you're channeling it. I don't know how to explain this. I'm from California, so dude, it just flows through me and it's comes out, and I don't even know how, but it's gnarly. So that's kind of how that works. Sorry.
I identify with this. I did it because I had no other way of doing it. And I just thought, you know what, I've become quite good at becoming in tune with my body. And that comment you make about going with your gut feeling, some of the stuff that we've been talking about in terms of that bonding feeling when you are able to create a story and connect with someone, there's an actual dopamine and serotonin or oxytocin release.
Oxycontin? Oxycontin, what?
Yeah, that one. Hillbilly heroin, whatever they call it. Florida has a prolific problem with it. I've seen the documentary.
It's real.
I think that it's I'm not religious. I'm spiritual. I think religious people are afraid of going to hell. I think spiritual people have been there. But I think with regards to this whole gut feeling thing, I can't explain it either, Lee. I think that once you eliminate a lot of the white noise, whether it be through poor nutrition or drugs and alcohol, I certainly feel like I've become a lot more in tune with it all. And going with my gut has been really rewarding to this point. So maybe that's what you're talking about when you get that intuitive response going, just leave that out. Oh, that's right. Bada bing.
Well, if you've ever taken a test and you're like, I don't know the answer, so you guess. And then you finish the test, you got a little time, you go back, review the question, like, you know what, with more thought, I'm going to change my answer. It's almost always wrong. You were right the first time. And so I hear people going through like 20 drafts of their book. Goodness, 20 drafts? I mean, I write it, I polish it, maybe a couple more, edited things, like 4 or 5 times. Because to me, and I'm not knocking what you said, but sometimes speakers are so perfect. They're like, I'm going to turn to my left now, and I'm going to raise my hand and make a very important point. Or writers, it's like they're trying so hard to just put in all these big words, and authenticity is, I think, what resonates with people more so than perfection, in my opinion. So, and I will say about channeling things, when my father passed away rather suddenly, and we were having a celebration of life for him. I'm also a musician. Oh my God, another thing he does. So I was like, I'm gonna write a song for my dad. It doesn't sound, it's country western. So it's country-ish. I don't listen to country music. I don't know where it came from. It's beautiful. It turned out, it doesn't, because I didn't write it. It somehow went through me, but I don't know where it came from. It just came out. And I was like, wow, that's really good. Did I steal that from somewhere? No, it's all about literally about things my dad and I did. And long story short is, the best work is usually something that you almost don't put your left brain in. It's more your right brain, or you try and just get it right get it out, and then don't polish it too much, but make it, fix the little imperfections that need to be fixed, but leave some in there.
Yeah. While we're on the topic, Lee, would you be so kind as to share that story about your father? Because it's come up a couple of times now, and I think people are probably curious about what happened.
So I'm the oldest of 3 sons. Worked with my dad when I was younger. Did a lot of stuff with my dad. And so as I started to speak, I was becoming more popular as a speaker. Well, my grandfather had a very successful business. My father worked for him. Then my grandfather sold it out from under him. So my dad was really mad. So he moved from New York to California. And then my dad started a business, became very successful. I worked for him. And then he sold it out from under me. So I moved to Hawaii. Like, I'm going to end up in New Zealand at some point here. So anyway, my dad had sold his business. I went on, because he's like, you really are a good writer, and you have something important to say. Go do that. But in between, I opened a chain of surf shops, and so my dad helped me with that. He would be the guy in the back doing ding repair. My dad, this successful businessman, just wanted to, in his retirement, just fix surfboards. Anyway, so we were very close, is where I'm going with this. And so one day, he fell from a ladder and landed on his side. He was trimming the trees, so the painters were going to charge him for it. So he's like, I'll do it myself. And he fell. So he couldn't breathe. He couldn't get up to go to the bathroom. He was in bad shape, but he wouldn't go to the hospital. So my brothers and I said, you know what, we're taking him to the hospital. So he fell on a Thursday. Friday morning, we took him in. And by Friday afternoon, the doctors had run tests, and they said, well, your dad didn't break a rib or puncture the lung, because that's what we thought. Your dad has stage 4 lung cancer, has maybe a week left to live. And so I just wrote my dad a long letter about all the, I'm so proud of my dad and proud to be his son. Just all the things I remember, tell him, you set me up for a great life. And the last time I saw him was on Sunday, because I was going to go fly out to give a speech. And so my entire life, my dad never said, I'm proud of you, son. Not once. And even in the last time I saw him, he never said it. And so he passed away Sunday night, Monday morning. So at the Celebration of Life, where I wrote the song for my dad, a guy came up to me and says, your dad was so proud of you. He was always talking about his famous son. And I guess my dad would buy my books at retail, and pass them out. this is my son's book. I had no idea. So, you know, sometimes it is the little things. The things that I wrote in the letter about my dad were like going to take the outboard engine of a boat to get repaired. I don't know why that memory stuck with me more than like a trip to Tahiti or something, but it did. And so it's the little things. And just that one person taking the time to come and tell me, hey, your dad was proud of you. He must have known I wanted to hear that or needed to hear whatever it was, but it made a huge difference because I have no guilt. I said what I need to say to my dad in a letter, and I feel good about knowing that my dad was proud of me in the end. So it's yeah. So, you know, I'm trying to, I have three, I do have 3 kids. I have 2 I know about. I have 2 kids, 2 sons. And I'm not overly profuse with my praise, but I do make an effort to tell them how great they are.
Oh, that's a doozy, Lee. I got to tell you, it makes you respond a lot quicker than you would have had to, I suppose, and gives you an appreciation for how short life can be.
He was 70. And so I thought that was young. Only 70. So he should still be alive today. It was June 7th, June 10th, 2007 that he passed away. So he would have been in his 80s, but still, my mom's still alive.
Wow. Do you have your guitar? Could you play the country song for us?
I don't. And no one. I actually, in this particular band, I was the drummer. And so even though I did write it on guitar, I'm a drummer in that configuration of that band, which was great because I put my sunglasses on, I put my hat low, and I just sat there and cried the whole time we played that song. It's just one of those moments, you know, you'll never forget.
Oh, it's a great story. It really is. And thank you for sharing it with us, Lee. I think, you know, the more stories that people feel comfortable sharing will only empower people. And you know, like the lady who you wrote the book for, now is the time to make that decision to do something. Now is the time to do that thing that you've always wanted to do. Like, life is such a short, precious resource that there's no point in living in fear. And this is one of the things that I've really come to terms with in the last few years. I think I have no fear of death. And you know, when I write that book, I don't give a fuck what people say about it. In the sense of, you know, like, I'm the one getting up here doing it. I'm the one that's actually going through the process. And until you're up on that stage with me, you got nothing. You got nothing. And I used to talk a big game for a long time and wouldn't follow through with a lot of stuff. And now I make it a point to follow through with what I'm going to say. I'm not 100% on it, but I'm fucking a damn sight better than I was a long time ago.
And here we are at 11 something at night, my time, because you followed through. I'll attest to that.
It's exciting, you know, like it gives you, and I'm sure you, and I'd be keen to hear your thoughts on this as well. I feel like every day is really exciting living this way. What are your thoughts on that, given your...
I mean, people would think we prepared because you sent me you know, in baseball, you just throw the ball right down the middle and hit a home run because your questions are like you reading my mind. It's kind of freaking me out a little, actually. But we didn't prepare for this. But I wear this bracelet, just a cheap little rubber bracelet made out of trash found on the beach. These 2 surfers turned them into, they're selling these bracelets. It's a reminder of me to live in the now. And so I will think about things that I've done in the past. I'm like, God, you know, it just bugs me. It just really could ruin like a nice moment. And then I'm worried about the future. Like, what's going to happen next? When I started to just remind myself to just don't worry about you can't change the past. You can't predict the future. Just do the best you can in the moment. Be 100% in with your kids. Be 100% in with an interview. Be 100% in whatever you're doing in that moment and be the best you can with what you have right now. That was a life changer for me because I had a lot of guilt from the past and a lot of fear of the future. And when you get rid of that, you really kind of get rid of a lot of brain clutter.
I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. What do you think, given that shift in mind or that reframing has allowed you to achieve in your life, Lee?
So when when something happens that, I'm like, oh man, I wonder if this is going to go south. I really literally, I will just snap myself, or I will take a deep breath and reset. Okay. All right. Like really, even if it did happen, what are you going to do about it? It's in the future. Don't, or this is in the past. You're going to call this person and apologize and make it right, or you're going to let it go. I mean, basically, I'm either going to fix it or forget about it. And I'm either going to do the best I can now to set myself up for the future, but I can't predict what's going to happen. Why worry about it? That frees, it's like in Seinfeld, when he stopped doing this one thing, he got really smart because he's focused. George Costanza was like a genius. He was not doing this other thing. That's how it is. It's like, wow, I have like more capacity in my brain for what I'm working on, because you can't help it. Something will drift in from something from the past that's bothersome, or some fear of the future or worry you might have. But if you just reset, just let it in, all right, moving on. I mean, I know it sounds so stupid. It's so silly and so remedial, but I'm telling you, it really worked for me. That's all I can say is, I know for me, it was a huge changer, because I'd be angry all the time. I'd feel bad about things in the past, or I'd be angry about what might happen in the future. And all that was happening in the moment. And now I just have the moment and whatever's going on, and I'm in a much better place.
It's really good to hear, Lee. And anyone that is listening to this or watching this, that how much time it frees up not worrying about things that are largely never going to happen. It's such a waste of energy and time that you can focus and be way more productive on other things. And I'm guessing you didn't get to this point by yourself. Like, who have been your major influences in your life that have helped you along this journey, do you think?
Well, you can tell by my age when I name these people, but I remember living in Hawaii, and I bought a book. What was it called? Oh, it's called The Winner's Edge. Winner's Edge. I'm like, oh, great, it's about sports. I'm going to read this. It was about goal setting, like by Dennis Waitley. I'm like, wow, that was the beginning for me. I'm a huge goal setter, being off the charts. I mean, I take it to another level, but that's been huge for me. That's my secret. That's my secret superpower is goal setting. But I got that from Dennis Waitley. And then about facing your fears and overcoming your fears, I got that from Anthony Robbins. About being better at business, I got that from Brian Tracy. So basically, the way I look at it is, I have a brain trust of people, and I would say, well, what would Brian Tracy do in this situation? What would Tony Robbins do, or who, what would Harry Potter do? Okay, I'm just kidding. But I have, I've read and listened to Zig Ziglar so many times, I could quote verbatim, and it helps me. It helps me to solve problems, because I've had the advice, not one-on-one, but feels like one-on-one. When you're in the car listening to a tape, it's like just you and Les Brown. Les is talking to me about his mama. And I'm like, I love my mama too. So there you go. I'm a self-help guru junkie. I love it. Give me more.
I'm astounded at the number of people that aren't. Like, it's single-handedly changed the direction of my life in a way that I'll never be able to really sort of fathom. But how can you have a bad day when you're listening to someone who's an expert at spreading good news?
It's like Zig Ziglar, my favorite. So upbeat and positive. But I would say the one person that I read this book every year, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. That, to me, is the best book ever written, because it's got the parable stories. It's excuse me, it's not heavy-handed, but man, is that powerful stuff. Hang on 1 second.
This podcast is brought to you by COVID-19.
That's been great. My last words.
I think Zig Ziglar, I've often said to people that if anyone was going to convince me to become a Christian, it'd be Zig Ziglar. And I know he's dead now, but I just love listening to his amazing tapes. And I'm fortunate enough to have been in contact in the Speakers Association in Australia with a lady, Lee Silber, who was actually mentored by Zig Ziglar. And this is one of the stories that she shared with me. And I don't think she'll have any problem with me sharing this, but he was a really avid runner, if you remember from his talks.
Golfer and runner, yeah.
Yeah, and he got to a point where he was really good at it, and to a point where I think he would have been able to compete at a college level and do really well as a 50-something-year-old man. And because I'm a runner, and I listened to his per mile pace that he would set. It was really, really amazing. But I remember Lisa saying that she once approached him about going running because they were staying at the Ziglar compound or wherever they lived, right? Just for a few months. And Zig said that he couldn't, or he wouldn't run with her by themselves because he never wanted to put himself in a position where his integrity could be compromised. That's the level of, like standard that he set for himself, which to most people is probably a bit over the top, but you kind of get it when you listen to the way he used to interact with people.
Yeah. No, I could see that. He man of convictions. He even sounds like a preacher in talking the gospel of sales or the gospel of being a better person, or even his great set of tapes on goal setting. I mean, whatever it is, I'm in. I want that Kool-Aid. He's the real deal. And I think, I talked about authenticity when you're writing, and I think as a speaker, I was sitting backstage with I won't tell you who it was, a famous speaker. And it just was nothing like I'd hoped he would be. He was the opposite. But when he went on stage, he was all, well, he came off the same grumpy, I don't know, I was just so disappointed. And I just said, I don't ever want to be fake. Be real. And so backstage, I'm crazy, and on stage, I'm crazy, and I'm crazy with you. But that's who I am. I'm crazy. But it is what it is. With Zig Ziglar, he was the real deal because I did get to meet him. And,
you did?
Yeah, he took a whole group of people around to give speeches. It's like you'd go for the whole day, and I'm such a bitch. I went in the men's bathroom and I put little signs about my particular book and taped them on. And somehow he found out about it. He's like, I want to meet this guy. And so that's how I got to meet him. He was both a little angry with me for trying to take money from him, his sales, but also impressed that I would go to that much trouble. When I tried to go in the women's room, well, that's when I was arrested. So I went only male audience, but there you go.
Wow. What was your take on, like, how much time did you spend with him, and what sort of, did he impart any wisdom? Did you get an opportunity to talk to you about anything?
Well, I was handcuffed, so it's kind of hard to talk when you're handcuffed. No, he was not that. He didn't give me that much time, but he did. He did say something. Along the same lines, I wrote a letter, and I went to the fanciest part of town, where all the, multi-millionaires. Then multi-millionaires, they'd be billionaires today. Big, huge estates and mansions. And there's a little, in the middle of Rancho Santa Fe, there's this little town with cafes and restaurants and shops and stuff. So I just wrote this letter saying, I'm an upstart and I really would love to, I hate the word pick your brain. So I said something like, I'd like to buy you breakfast and talk about, anyway. So I put this letter in all the nicest cars. Sure enough, I get a call, same thing. Like, you got a lot of nerve. He's like, sure, I'll meet with you. And this person happened to work in publishing for Times Mirror, the LA Times, big time. Yeah, he's retired. So anyway, he became my mentor because I wrote a letter, had the, whatever you want to call it, the chutzpah to put it on the different windows. And I was just thinking to myself, what you said to me over the phone when we talked recently, you said, I'm going to do this over no matter what. This is what I'm going to do. That's the difference, I think, between the people who make it and those who either kind of make it, but they're not really. It's that extra something. and I know you have it, and I know your listeners probably are passionate about something enough that they would be willing to go write a letter, put it on a card, and hope to not get in trouble, and be willing to put themselves out there and say, look, I would love to, because my philosophy is those who are super successful feel guilty and they want to give back so they can ease their conscience, and I want to receive. It's a win-win, right? Right?
It is. That is genius. That is such a clever idea. Do you remember what your strike rate was in terms of people coming back?
I got a couple calls, and a couple people were just fascinated by my story, because I put a little story of how I was trying to at that point I was trying to reinvent myself. I had already had success in business, but I was moving into becoming a writer and a speaker, and I didn't know much about it, and I wanted advice. And so of course I went to Toastmasters, which I give a lot of credit to. I know you have those where you are, and that's a great organization. Even if you're not wanting to be a speaker, just to be able to think on your feet, to be able to put a couple of sentences together, and it works. Just a great group. So between my mentor from there and my mentor from my little adventure into Rancho Santa Fe, I'm sure half of them thought they got a ticket. Dang it, I got a ticket. Oh, just a letter. I'll give them a call. So, but that does take a level of commitment, I think, to do something like that. And I kind of got, the funny thing is I kind of got away from that. I need to get back to that. I'm going to do it again in my old age. Put on young people's card. I want to help you. Let me help you, please. You're going to be flipped.
What is
Go
this
ahead.
paper? What is this paper thing?
I'm taking over your show. Sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, mate, I'm learning stuff here, left, right, and center. I have some of the best relationships in my life through showing courage and tenacity. And I think the universe rewards you, whatever God is or whatever, I think rewards you when you are brazen and just are willing to go that next level. And I think that's what's happened to you. And my mentor as well, I met in an elevator in my old office. In like probably a 10-second lift ride. I said hello and answered differently when she said, how was I? And then we ended up, a year and a half later. And the same week I met my partner, in the street. And that happens a lot. It doesn't, the people that really sort of have that amazing meaning in your life don't come super duper easy, I find.
I couldn't agree more. And I think one of the things that I like about you, and that I think attracts me to people that are either successful or on their way to being successful, is that you're not selling anything, because you truly believe what you're about to tell me or what you want me to do is beneficial to me. I don't, and you're so, even if it's not, you're so passionate about it that it overcomes my objections or my worries or my fears. And I think that the people that get to that point where others are attracted to them, like you were just saying, there's something in the way you carry yourself, the way you answer a hello, the way you do things, because you know what you have to say and what you have to offer is so important to them, that why wouldn't I want to share this? Why wouldn't I want to approach somebody I don't know? Why wouldn't I go that extra step? Because I'm doing them a favor. And hopefully you really are. I mean, I'd hate to buy a timeshare and realize I just got scammed. What the heck? This guy was so passionate. He told me, Boca in the summer, it's brilliant. It's only 120 degrees. You know what I mean? I was like, gosh, he seems so genuine. But if you really are offering something of value, and why wouldn't you be, right? Why wouldn't you be offering a book or a willingness to speak or wanting to be a mentor or a mentee if you didn't feel like it was a beneficial thing for the other person? That's how I look at it. I hope other people do too.
Yeah. The thing that I find so interesting is that people put, established celebrity people or, when you're talking about meeting Zig Ziglar or whoever it might be, they put them on a pedestal in a way that they think they're not worthy. It's like that Wayne's World, we're not worthy, and it's important not to do that, because I think you're doing the person that you're engaging with a disservice. If you go into that conversation And like I called Brene Brown at the start of this year. I don't know whether I told you this story.
Mm-mm.
I got access to Brene's phone number, and on
that's probably a story in and of itself. You
and on
hacked in.
and rifling through her garbage. But I called Brene on the 2nd of January in Melbourne, which is the 1st of January in Texas, where she was. And I didn't expect the phone to answer, but she picked up and she said, "Hi, Brene speaking," and in my best Southern drawl. And I said, "Hi, Brene. My name's Laban Ditchburn. I'm an upcoming speaker on the subject of escapism, codependency, and shame." I said, "I'm a big fan of your work, and I've been told by all my other mentors to surround myself with people that are further down the line than I, and I wondered if you'd be interested in sharing some ideas." So again, going to that, like trying to give something, right? And she said, "Well, Laban, thank you for your call." She said, "I'm about to sit down and have New Year's Day dinner with my family, but if you'd be so kind as to send me an email, I'll get back to you when I can." And I said, "Thank you so much, Brene." And she gave me her Gmail address. And so I made a little 1-minute video, like a little private YouTube link that I could just send her, and then send my bio and she responded, and she said
Well,
to me,
of course.
yeah, it took a few days. She said, "Look, Laban, thank you for your email." She said, with what I've got going on at university and family at the moment, I don't have the capacity to give this the attention that it deserves. You'll do fantastic. I wish you all the best, Brene.
Mm.
And my mentor, who's a 60-year-old Scottish woman, is a huge diehard fan of Brene Brown. And she just said, "Laban, I can't believe that you just felt like you could ring Brene Brown." Like, she was really happy for me. Like, she said, "I wish that I had the courage to do that." Now, I didn't get anything out of Brene, but I think I did. And what I got was the confidence to then go on and make other phone calls to people like you, Lee, and to facilitate conversations like this that are really meaningful and really fucking helpful to people that might be at a point in their life where they're going, "Why am I so terrified of everything?" And then they see you and they see me and they go, "Oh, well, that's not so hard, is it?"
Mm.
What a great outcome. Thanks, Brene. Shout out. You want to come on the show? Become your own superhero?
I want to hear you talk more about it because I love that accent you do. That's cool.
I don't know where I got it from. Maybe from watching Dukes of Hazzard growing up or something.
You sound a little bit like Daisy Duke, I must say.
I'm wearing
those
hot pants now.
I was hoping you wouldn't go there. No, but you did.
Damn sexy, Laban. Lee, I'm very respectful of your time. This has been a wonderful, wonderful chat. But before we go, is there anything that you would like to share with us story-wise that has been really impactful in any way in your life that you want to share with the audience today?
Well, so I'm going back. I'm doing this video series for my kids, right? So I'm not dying. At least I don't think so. I don't know. But I thought, you know what? I want to leave some things that I did wrong so that they won't make the same mistakes. So I'm calling "What Would Jimmy Buffett Do?" That's the title of it. And I'm kind of like wearing a tropical shirt. I got this cool background. I'm just talking about some of my greatest failures. And, because the kids love to hear that stuff. "Oh, Dad flipped a boat in the ocean?" "Yeah, I flipped a boat." "All right, let me tell you why." And because I tried to surf away with the boat. What if an idiot does that, right? Stupid. So even though I'm living in the moment, for this project, I'm going back to learn from my mistakes, or at least to teach my kids. They either become your parents or you become the opposite. I'm hoping I live my life as a lesson of what not to do, right? So so doing that made me realize at the time, when I say this, you're going to go, "Oh, I know this," but you know what? I'm going to say it anyway. Some of my failures were the key turning points in my life, because if I hadn't failed, it wouldn't have led to something even better. I know that sounds so cliche, but it's probably a cliche because it's true. And so in going back and looking at some of this stuff at the time, it was horrific. It was tragic. It was awful. And I was thinking, this is the end. All right, it's been nice, a nice career. Looks like I'm done. And sure enough, it took me down another road that was even better. So wherever you are, whatever you've done, whatever hasn't worked, it's not the end. It's the beginning of something better. That's how I have, after seeing these things pile up, looking in the rearview mirror, it's like a giant accident beyond me of mistakes. But some of them were, I made a smaller mistake, made a mistake back when I could have absorbed it. Like if I did the same thing now, it'd be worse. A family, kid. My point is, the bad things that happen to you when they're happening seem like it's all consuming. And you should learn the lesson. Like feel the pain, feel the hurt so you don't do it again, but realize that sometimes those are the best teaching tools. And from that becomes an opportunity. I don't know how else to say it without saying it just like that. I mean, going back in time and thinking about jumping off a 90-foot cliff, who does that? Why? Because someone challenged you. What are you, chicken? Like, I'm not chicken, I'm going. No. I mean, I survived, but the guy behind me broke his back. I'm not kidding. That could have been me. So that actually was a success. That's one of the better stories. But anyway, I should be dead a bazillion times over, but I'm alive for some reason, and I think it was to be here with you. That's the reason that I didn't die in the plane crash, because I crashed a plane, I flipped a boat, I raced cars and crashed into a wall. I've done it all, and yet here I am, mildly affected by some of these things, but overall, a better person for it. So there you go.
Lee,
don't you wish you didn't ask that question? Like
No.
One question.
I was just going to say, it's a pleasure to have Lee James Bond Silber on the show today. This was even more entertaining than I knew it was going to be. Thank you for being so frank and honest and authentic. And I don't know what else to say. I think this has been a really wonderful, wonderful chat, and I just wanted to thank you for your contribution today. Thank you.
Thank you for putting this together. It was, you always know you're doing something the right way at the right time for the right reasons when time goes by like that. And this went by felt like 5 minutes. So thank you for being you.